The FBI knowingly interfered in the 2020 election on behalf of one candidate. Let's go over who that might be. They received a copy of the Hunter Biden laptop in December of 2019, giving them what one might call ample time to check the veracity of it. They didn't do their jobs. Forget Hunter Biden and his crack and his whores. He's not running for office. However, there was ample amount of warnings that perhaps Joe Biden was absolutely crooked and benefiting from backroom deals enabled by his son using his name with enemies, counterparties of the United States that just maybe candidate / President Biden might be beholden to. So then they go out of their way to warn Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook about Russian disinformation that is about to hit the campaign trail, knowing that there is an excellent chance that the Trump campaign has the laptop, possibly, likely I would say, even knowing with 100% certainty they might have had moles in the campaign, very likely. Or maybe they just convinced the courts once again to allow a warrant to surveil them. I mean, it's not like they didn't do it before. I mean, FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith doctored a document and was convicted of such, received a very light sentence, to help justify the surveillance of a former Trump campaign advisor as part of the 2016 investigation into Russian interference into the election. The Hunter Biden laptop is then released to the world with deafening silence. NPR calls it a non-story, something that they're not even going to report about. The New York Times and Washington Post frame it as Russian propaganda. Twitter blocks dissemination of the story entirely, going so far as to suspend the account of the New York Post for misinformation, disinformation, while Facebook, as Mark Zuckerberg stated, merely shadow banned it, downranked massively. This is the FBI knowingly robbing the public of knowledge of a corrupt Biden, and we know now for certain that he met with officials who he claimed that he didn't in the past. We know that there were backroom deals with money going into the pocket of the big guy, Joe Biden. And they claimed all the while that this was a fabrication by the Trump campaign when they knew that it wasn't, when they knew that the laptop was legit, which is the whole reason that they didn't investigate it for a effing year. Do you think that they would have done the same had these allegations been made against the Donald? You think? And let me be clear about something. If a president of the United States is receiving kickbacks from foreign adversaries and perhaps putting their interest ahead of Americans, then I consider that to be a form of treason. What do you call it then when you intentionally lie to the public and keep this information from them and then go on TV and declare the laptop illegitimate Russian disinformation? And with the way that CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times covered this story, it was intentionally fraudulent activity. Sam Harris even stated,
it doesn't answer the people who say it's still completely unfair to not have looked at the laptop in a timely way and to have shut down the New York Post's Twitter account. Like that's just a conspiracy. That's a left-wing conspiracy to deny the presidency to Donald Trump. Absolutely, it was. Absolutely.
And another thing to make clear: this is actual fascism. The government colluding with privately owned corporations to rob people of information, to not allow the dissemination of a true story. That is fascism, the unity of corporation and the government. And for those of you who want to poo-poo it and say, well, it's 2020 hindsight, no. The FBI absolutely did not do their jobs. They did not investigate, and it was done intentionally. As I mentioned before, they wouldn't have done this if it had been Donald Trump himself who was under the investigation, who was another Russiagate story. But they let this go? Really? Do you really believe that? The American people were lied to. And worse, Our First Amendment rights were violated. Our voices were suppressed by government action, by their decree, by the threats of senators like Dianne Feinstein or Amy Klobuchar, who had been warning Facebook that the sun would crash upon them should they allow disinformation to spread. So despite the fact that Mark Zuckerberg did all he could to help the Democrats win in the 2020 elections, you have to also understand the fact that his company, everything that he built, his baby, was under threat, because I'm going to steel man the position, by the Democrats, who are coercing a privately owned corporation. Again, they want to call the MAGA people the semi-fascists. These are the fascists. Now they want to tell you that the Mar-a-Lago raid couldn't have possibly been partisan. How many times do people have to be lied to, whether it be Russiagate, the Fine People hoax, the drinking bleach hoax, the bounty on soldiers by the Russians in Afghanistan, and now the Hunter Biden laptop? Before, in the public's minds, all links of credibility are dissolved into nothingness between the media apparatus owned by the Democrats as well as the institution of the FBI. And for the FBI agents that are actually decent people that are going out there and doing as ordered, well, no, I don't give you guys a pass either, because you guys are standing with the tyranny for fear of losing your jobs rather than upholding the oath that you took. And so people keep hearkening back, oh my God, this is worse than Watergate. Yes, this is worse than Watergate. This is on par with stuffing ballots, because you only need a certain number in order to tilt what is a close election. And the FBI absolutely knew, the Democrats knew, the media apparatus knew that enough people, upon hearing this news, would switch their vote away from the big guy, from Joe Biden. And this is not the world, not the America that I wish to live in. So go ahead, all you partisans, you New York Times staff and readers, all those people on the left that applaud like seals as our country is torn apart, as lies and malignancy spread throughout our nation.
And the character of the country, in my view, is literally on the ballot. What kind of country we're going to be? 4 more years of Georgia, is going to find ourselves in a position where
because you'd rather your senile puppet win than stand for truth.